Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. We just couldn't get away from our shark movies, guys, so it's now Christmas in July. So today we are covering Santa Jaws, much to Jess's dismay and begrudgingly. So I had been begging her for months to watch this movie, and I'm so glad that she finally let me show it to her. Though I don't think she's too happy about it, though. But before we...
This just proves how much I love you.
Before we move on to that, I am drinking good old sweet tea from Dairy Queen. Sip is sip. What are you drinking?
I busted into your tea stash and got Yogi ginger tea.
Ah, that's the good shit.
Yes. And caffeine free.
Yes, this is true. But though we might need it.
Oh, we'll definitely
tomorrow.
need some at some point, for sure.
But Santa Jaws. So this kid created his own comic about this shark that becomes like the alpha shark. And she eats Santa Claus and gets Santa powers. And so he has this whole comic book. And it's Christmas, and his grandpa gives him a pen, and he inks the drawing, and it comes to life. And so he's like, oh crap, it's a magical pen. And so literally the whole movie is them trying to figure out how to kill Santa Jaws. And it's amazing. But entertainment.
Not responsible for the faces that I make.
So this is going to be one of those movies that me and Jess have extremely differing opinions on, more than likely, at least when it comes to entertainment. So this movie, I would actually give an 8. And for those podcast listeners, Jess is rolling her eyes.
Hurt. That physically hurt to hear.
Because, like, me and some other friends that had watched the movie were talking, and it's like a director of a Hallmark movie got dared into making a horror movie. And it's so cheesy, but actually you can tell that they put a level of effort into it. Like, there's really weird details that they decided to add, like, in the beginning, Santa had Feliz Navidad on as a tattoo, or like Jess had made the comment, it's like, oh, why are the bicycles catching up to the car? But then after the guy got out, he is like, oh, I should have drawn a faster car. Like, they put all of these little details and they like flesh out the world way more than they have to for a movie like this. Just like, I really respect them for putting in a level of effort that didn't need to be done. Now, granted, the CG is really bad, but it's a low-budget movie. And the fact that it was originally supposed to be a drawing, I can buy it a little bit more that it's crappy CG, versus if they were like, oh, this is a real shark.
I don't know. His drawing was actually really good.
No, I mean, his art.
His art was really good.
But
I don't know if it was actually his art. But whoever drew it, it was really good.
Yeah. Well, and then, like, going back to the Hallmark thing, like, there's a lot of goofy puns, and I don't know. It's just, this movie tickles me in just the right spot. Like, I originally watched this movie for the lulz, and I was like, this movie is going to be so bad. But then I ended up genuinely, like, it's not a good movie, but I ended up genuinely enjoying the movie. It's almost, I'd say it's not quite as bad as Sharknado, but it's a very similar feel to where it's like you watch Sharknado not because it's a good movie, but because it's entertaining and it makes you laugh. But,
So you were pleasantly surprised when you watched it.
I was very pleasantly surprised. Like, I watched this movie, I think this was my 4th time watching it. Like, it is now, and that's why I rated it an 8, because 8s are movies that I get the itch to watch them. And I get the itch to watch this movie. As weird as it sounds, it fills up my comedy bucket, but then also fills up my cheesy bucket, but then it also fills up my horror and shark bucket. I don't know. It fills so many of my buckets.
Okay.
But anyways, now that I think about it, that's kind of wrong.
A little bit. Anyway.
But I meant actual buckets, guys, like emotional buckets.
You don't need to expand. This is not a thing you need to do.
We're done with the buckets.
This is not a thing you need to do.
But I don't know. It's like for people that don't like cheesy movies, you will not like this movie. But if you're the type of person that's like, I like stupid puns, I like silly, like, Hallmark movies that are just, like, way emotionally over the top, the characters aren't realistic, all of that jazz, you're probably gonna get a kick out of this movie. What about you?
So it wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
I knew it.
But I still kind of hated it, so it gets a 4. Be honest, you thought I was gonna give it worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, I knew you were at least somewhat enjoying it because you were commenting with the people.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's a good sign.
I did appreciate that they did acknowledge certain things. Like the bikes in the car.
Yeah.
Or
the stereotype thing.
The stereotype thing was really decent. Like, there's a little bit of stereotypes in everyone. It's going to happen. It's just a thing that society does.
Yeah.
And how we view each other. It's a thing.
We like to categorize people.
Yes, because it makes more sense in our minds, and things that make sense make us more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's what happens. But I like certain cheesy movies, but this is not the kind of cheese that I enjoy. It's just not. Like, all the really, really bad puns and one-liners make me want to punch the person in the throat. I kept begging the movie to kill off certain people because of the things that they say or do.
And it kills them off.
Eventually. Not as fast as you would like, but eventually it does. The CG is awful. I expected that. It's like a sci-fi original. They had a super, super low budget. So I get it. I'm still counting off for it. But I get it. They also had, like, every stereotypical cliche ever for the family Christmas.
Hallmark
ever.
movie.
Well, it's not just Hallmark.
Yeah.
Even in many good, or at least close to good, horror movies have those kind of stereotypical interactions for a Christmas family gathering. It can't just be like a normal family gathering. It has to be like the creepy older relative. In this case, it was the grandfather, who at first you think is the uncle. He acted creepy in the beginning. Don't even give me that look.
No, I'm thinking more like the uncle that married the model.
Oh, I was getting there. That's the uncle in midlife crisis. The one that is obsessed with social media and speaks in hashtags. There's the jock, usually a sibling, otherwise it's a cousin. There's the outcast. There's the mom that's stressed with everything and is just done. And is usually the one that's way too strict. There's the dad that's kind of the mediator, but kind of fades into the background. And that's all that was gathered.
Yeah.
There's usually a couple of more, but that's all that was there. So I just... His best friend? Also, right after hashtag chick, he was actually the one that I could not stand the most. Because he was supposed to be a really good friend, but he was an awful bro. He knows that his friend is really into that girl. And a little bit of teasing, okay, fine. That's what friends do. You and I do it to each other all the time. But he then tries to, like, sabotage his friend at every turn.
Yeah.
And talks down to him a lot. And keeps pushing his own stuff. I'm guessing because of his own insecurities, probably. But he doesn't seem like he's really there for his friend. He hangs around his friend because it makes him feel better about himself. Is the sense that I get.
Hmm.
He needs them because he illustrates the drawings.
Yeah, I can. Well, and then the friend tries to one up him a lot, where he's
All
like,
the time.
he's like, "Oh, I wrote it."
Yes.
Yeah.
All the time, especially in front of the girl.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you like her too, then freaking talk about it with your friend. But don't just sabotage him at every turn.
Yeah.
That's not cool, man. You're an awful bro, and I'm glad that you got eaten by sandjaws. Those are the main issues that I had. It's just the story itself was okay. So those were the main things that I had. It's the plot, the storyline, it was okay. It was, C movie. I get it.
C movie.
You cannot call it a B.
There's some Hollywood movies that have very similar, like, storylines.
Yeah.
Where it's like something goes wrong and then the kid fixes it. Then everything is better.
Overdone.
Yes, it is overdone.
They've beaten the dead horse into oblivion. It is now dust floating in the wind, and they're still trying to catch the dust and beat the crap out of it too. Find a new storyline.
At least it wasn't. I mean, I guess it was a monster, which a lot of them are.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's such a unique monster. It's a shock.
I appreciate that when they tried to impale it. My first thought was, it's a unicorn shark. And the kid immediately goes, we gave it a horn. It has a horn now. I did appreciate that. That was my favorite scene. But the rest of it, I'm like, I'm good. You can keep it.
But, well, it's like, I could talk about the entertainment all day, but
She loves this movie,
it's
guys.
very much, differing opinions and stuff like that. Like, I just find the movie charming in so many different ways.
It's like you with some gore movies. Like, you're not a huge fan of, like, super, super gory movies.
Yeah.
I love the crap out of them.
Yeah.
So, this is not my kind of cheese.
I'm all about that kind of cheese.
Just make sure you take your lactose medicine. That's all I ask.
Lactaid.
That's all I ask.
But, well, is there anything else you want to add before we moved on to realism?
No.
Okay, well, as per usual, I probably don't have a whole lot to say on realism. Like, because I understand that this is such a cheesy movie, it's actually was really hard for me to pick out what was realistic and what wasn't, because it's like, do I discount the fact that there's a magic pen in the movie? Or, so it's like, okay.
Well, we have to set aside certain things. So I can set aside the fact that there's a magic pen. That's fine. Barely. But it's fine. Because it's the premise for the whole movie.
Yeah.
That's acceptable.
Yeah. But it's like, even putting the magic pen aside, yeah, it's just thinking about the kills and yeah. So I am giving this a 1. So that's the one thing that me and Jess did agree on. And I don't have anything, it's hard for me to pick out exact, like, scenes and moments where I'm like, oh, that's not realistic. But I know, like, the characters themselves are very unrealistic. Like, if you picture real people in a situation like that, nobody would be acting like because they're too, you could tell that it was the characters driving the story, and that's what they were using the characters to do. Like, it wasn't the shark. The shark was just doing its own thing, like killing people. It wasn't really escalating the story. It was the characters trying to figure out how to take care of it. So it's like on the one hand, the characters were really unrealistic, but they were needed to drive the story and create the plot. But it did take huge points for the realism skill. And then, of course, the shark kills were very unrealistic, especially towards the end. Like, once he gets the horn, the unrealistic kills just, like, goes through the roof. Like, yeah. But that's all I got for realism.
Yeah, it's a 1. The whole movie is unrealistic. Whole movie. But the biggest issues that I have are inconsistencies. For one, they keep saying over and over and over, they drill it into your head that it's supposed to be a great white shark. And somehow, when it uses its magical lasso powers to wrap a string of Christmas lights around a girl that weighs, 115 pounds soaking wet? Maybe. All of the kids can keep her on the dock for a minute or so with no issue.
We should have looked up how much great white sharks normally weigh. I know normally it's like a couple of tons. Yeah.
She would have been ripped in half. Just saying. Or just ripped out of their hands and thrown into the water. Also, it had magical lasso powers. This is not how anything works. I don't like it. Also, they said a couple of times that the pin should only be used for the benefit of others. That it should not be used for personal gain. Yet, when the kid uses it to draw the shark, and he's thinking about how the world has wronged him and everything, and how, woe was me. It's me against the world. I should be better off alone. Cue emo music.
How could this happen to me?
Yeah. So, a shark comes to life and starts eating everyone. But when comic book guy uses it, there are no consequences whatsoever. Every single thing he drew was for personal gain, and yet none of it had any kind of consequence whatsoever. Bullshit.
But the guy did die.
Because he got tackled into the water with the shark.
Well, but we also don't know. Maybe he would have seen consequences from it, but the movie didn't play out to show that.
That's a stretch. I feel like that's a stretch. I feel like they should have found out that the chick that was in the comic book store that he drew ended up being some femme fatale or on the lam or something. Like, she was some kind of bad chick. Bad news. Assassin. Definitely gonna kill him. Is upset now. But...
yeah.
And the money was stolen. Or fake. Be even funnier if it was fake.
Then he gets arrested for fraud or something.
Which is a federal offense.
Yep.
But no consequences whatsoever. So that's nice that only the child has horrible traumatic consequences for things that he draws. This is fine. So the interactions are not very accurate in my opinion. I can kind of see some of the parenting. I don't agree with it, but I can understand some of it, so kind of helps there a little bit, I guess. But everything's so over the top, it's just really hard to gauge it.
Yeah, it is a very over the top movie, but it's like, this is a good movie, in my opinion, to watch with friends. Maybe drink a little bit if you're of legal age. And just...
yeah, if you're of legal age, please do not watch this movie sober.
Oh my god. This movie... okay, all the times I've watched it has been sober. I feel just saying.
Okay, but again, not my kind of cheese. So I feel like it would have been better, in my opinion, if I wasn't sober while watching it.
Okay, for an exclusive group of people... you may want to watch this while drinking. But Well, I'm so glad that you let me show
Are
you this
you
movie.
happy now?
I am so happy and content right now.
Guys, you don't understand. You have no idea.
I even had my other friends like trying to like
The
change your
months of
mind.
nagging from multiple sources.
We're like, come on, you can do it.
I succumbed to peer pressure.
Well, what's funny is whenever I watched it with a group of friends previously, we all had some sort of shark plushie. And so we were holding shark plushies while we were watching the movie. And that just made it so much more of an experience. Like, if you guys are going to watch this movie, I definitely recommend making it like a fun night.
It is better watching it with someone.
Yeah, and like honestly, I haven't watched it once by myself. And I think that could be a part of the reason why I'm rating it so high is because it is so much more fun to watch a movie with friends.
It is.
And maybe if I was watching it by myself, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. But some of the jokes are just like my kind of humor, so rolling those eyes. But
It's like a nice pick to the brain.
oh my goodness. You are so dramatic. But anyways, if you like this episode, please like. We would also very much appreciate if you subscribed or commented about our podcast. We are slowly but surely gaining support, but I can't tell you enough how much of a huge difference it makes to just share our content. And it's like, even if we made you chuckle or made you want to watch the movie, please share our stuff. We would appreciate it so much. And of course, if you have a movie that you want us to cover, then please comment down below, or you can follow us on our social media. We also have a Teespring now. Links are all in the description below. Anything you want to add?
Like, comment, subscribe. It helps. And
Yes.
we appreciate all of you viewers. Thank you so much.
Yes, like we can't, it's like you can't watch us obviously, but it's like whenever we get any sort of interaction from you guys, it brings us so much joy.
We like fangirl over comments.
Yes, it's like we fangirl over you guys. So whatever you can give us, we would totally appreciate.
We're even bigger nerds than we look.
So your support means so much to us,
Yes.
and we want to continue doing what we're doing.
Yes. And we have one other movie this month before our live stream. So don't forget, we do have a live stream at the first Saturday, usually, of every month. This month, of course, was a little bit different just because of the holiday, but should be good next month. And it is another Phasmophobia run.
Yay!
I'm so excited. V will be joining us again for the Phasmophobia session, so
And
be sure to meet us then.
And depending on when this episode comes out, there may or may not be a Phasmophobia update.
Yes, I'm really hoping. We just recently, in real time, watched the update news for Phasmophobia, so there's going to be huge updates for that game. They're basically revamping the entire game, and I am all about it.
I know.
Oh, I'm so excited.
For sure.
Yes, it helps that they've got more people on their team. Now we can have more content.
Yay.
More stuff to do, more spoops to be had. We're going to be terrified.
We're gonna regret those updates. But we'll be
going
so
to regret
happy.
it. Yes, it's very much, it's almost like eating really, really spicy food. Like, you know it's gonna hurt, but it hurts so good.
I can't say I've ever had that.
I forget you're not really that big on spice.
Well, I'm a lot bigger of it than some people, but no, I am not a spice queen like you.
I I like my ghost pepper queso. It's tasty.
Yes. But
But don't forget to join us then, guys. It'll be at 7 p.m. first Saturday of the month. Please cut that. God. We'll see you then, guys. Until then, please stay safe and stay spoopy. Bye.